He built an empire on blood and silence. She survived on flowers and hope. One red light, one stolen glance, and the empire began to crumble. He abandoned her pregnant. Now she stands in the rain with his child, and she doesn't even know the baby is his. This is the story of the man who had everything and the woman who became his only truth. Welcome to Flowers in the Rain. If you've ever believed love could redeem even the darkest soul, subscribe and join us on this journey to 1,000 subscribers. The city didn't sleep. It pulsed. Neon lights bled across rain-slicked streets, reflecting off black SUVs and expensive suits. Power moved in shadows here. Money spoke in silence. And fear? Fear had a name. Kang Ji-won, 29. Heir to the Kang clan, the Korean mafia's golden son. Cold, calculated, untouchable. He sat in the back of his armored car, fingers drumming against his knee. His driver didn't speak. His bodyguards didn't breathe too loud. That's how it was when you rode with a man who could end lives with a phone call. The light turned red. Ji-won glanced out the tinted window. Bored. Traffic. Rain. The usual suffocating routine of a city that bent to his will. Then he saw her. And the world stopped. She stood on the corner, drenched, hair plastered to her face. A thin jacket doing nothing against the cold. In her arms, flowers, cheap, wilting roses wrapped in plastic, and a baby. Ji-won's heart slammed against his ribs. No, it couldn't be. But it was. Amara. The woman he'd loved. The woman he'd destroyed. 1 year ago, he'd walked away from her. Not because he stopped loving her, but because his father had given him a choice. The family or her. He chose power. He chose survival. He chose wrong. She'd been pregnant. He knew. She'd told him, tears streaming, hands shaking. And he'd looked at her. God, he'd looked at her and said nothing. Just turned and left. He told himself it was mercy, that she'd be safer without him, that his world would kill her. But looking at her now, thin, exhausted, holding a baby against her chest while she tried to sell flowers to strangers who didn't even see her, he realized the truth. He was the one who'd killed her. Just slower. Stop the car, Ji-won said. His driver hesitated. Sir, we're in the middle of... Stop. The car. The SUV jerked to a halt. Ji-won's hand was on the door handle. His pulse roared in his ears. He hadn't felt fear in years, not since he'd taken his first life at 17. Not since he'd learned that mercy was weakness. But now he was terrified, because she was 10 feet away. And he didn't know if he was about to save her or destroy her all over again. Amara didn't notice the SUV. She was too focused on the couple walking past, trying to smile, trying to sell just one bouquet. Just one. Enough for formula, enough for diapers, enough to survive another day. The couple ignored her. She swallowed the ache in her throat and adjusted the baby, a little girl, barely 6 months old, with dark curls and skin like warm earth kissed by the sun. Her daughter. Her everything. The light turned green. Cars moved. The black SUV stayed. Amara glanced up, confused. The tinted windows revealed nothing. But something about it made her skin prickle. She stepped back. The door opened. And her entire world shattered. Because the man stepping out, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black suit that cost more than her entire year, was the man who'd ripped her heart out and left her bleeding. Kang Ji-won. Her breath caught. Her arms tightened around her baby. No, not now. Not here. He stood in the rain, staring at her. His face was the same, sharp, beautiful, deadly. But his eyes weren't cold anymore. They were broken. Amara, he said. His voice cut through the rain, through the noise, through the year of silence. She took another step back. Don't, she whispered. He moved closer. Slow. Like approaching something wild. Something that might run. His voice cracked. Kang Ji-won, the man who never hesitated, stumbled over his own words. I didn't know you knew. Her voice was steady. Too steady. Because if she let it break, she'd fall apart. You knew everything. His gaze dropped to the baby in her arms. And for the first time in a year, Amara saw him. Not the crime lord, not the heir, not the man made of ice. Just the boy who'd loved her once, before power swallowed him whole. She's yours, Amara said quietly. The words landed like bullets. Jiwon's knees nearly buckled. A daughter. He had a daughter. And she'd been suffering. Alone. While he sat in his penthouse, drowning in guilt and expensive whiskey, convincing himself he'd done the right thing. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was raw. Amara laughed. It was bitter, broken. You walked away, Jiwon. You made your choice. You thought I'd be fine? Her eyes burned. You thought I'd just disappear? He couldn't answer, because the truth was worse. He'd hoped she would. Hoped she'd move on. Find someone better. Someone who wasn't drenched in blood and regret. But she hadn't moved on. She'd survived. And that was so much harder. I'm sorry, he whispered. It was the first time he'd apologized to anyone in 5 years. Amara looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the cracks, the exhaustion, the guilt eating him alive. But she also saw the empire behind him, the bodyguards watching from the SUV, the power he'd chosen over her. Your sorry doesn't feed her, Amara said softly. It doesn't keep her warm. It doesn't change the fact that I've been doing this alone. Jiwon's jaw clenched. Let me help. Help? She shook her head. You think money fixes this? I think you don't get to think anymore, Jiwon. Her voice was steel wrapped in exhaustion. You gave up that right when you walked away. The light turned green again. Cars honked. His driver stepped out, tense. Sir, we need to move. Jiwon didn't move. He just stood there in the rain, staring at the woman he'd loved and the daughter he didn't know. I'm not leaving again, he said. Amara's breath hitched. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Jiwon continued, voice low, desperate. I'm not asking you to trust me, but I'm not walking away. Not this time. You don't have a choice, Amara said. I don't need you. But she does. The baby stirred in her arms, letting out a soft whimper, and Jiwon's heart, cold, dead, buried under years of violence, cracked wide open. Please, he whispered. It was the second time he'd ever begged. The first was the night she told him she was pregnant, and he'd begged her to wait, to give him time. She had, and he'd failed her. Amara looked down at her daughter, at the tiny face that looked so much like his, then back at Jiwon. One chance, she said. But the second you hurt her, I won't. You already did. The words hit harder than any bullet. Jiwon nodded slowly. I know. Amara hesitated. Then, finally, she whispered, her name is Hana. Hana, it meant flower. Jiwon's throat tightened. He'd destroyed the woman who'd loved him, but maybe, just maybe, he could protect the flower they'd made together. Even if it cost him everything. Jiwon didn't go home that night. He followed her. Not close enough to scare her, but close enough to see where she went. What kind of life she'd built in his absence. The answer destroyed him. She lived in a studio apartment on the south side, the kind of place where the locks didn't work and the heat barely ran. The kind of place Jiwon had people disappeared from. He sat in his car across the street, watching the dim light in her window. His phone buzzed. Father, where are you? He didn't answer. His second-in-command called. Boss, the meeting with the Italians. Cancel it. Sir? I said cancel it. He hung up. For the first time in his life, the Empire could wait. Inside the apartment, Amara laid Hana down in a crib she'd bought secondhand. The baby fussed, tiny fists curling. Amara sang softly, something her mother used to sing, back in Senegal, before the world got complicated. Before she fell in love with a man who didn't know how to stay. She glanced at the flowers she hadn't sold. 12 bouquets, useless now, wilting. Tomorrow she'd try again. She always did. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. Hello? It's me. Her breath caught. How did you get my number? I'm a crime lord, Amara. I can get anything. It should have scared her. It didn't. Because his voice wasn't threatening. It was broken. What do you want, Jiwon? Silence. Then, I want to meet her, properly. You saw her. I saw her for 30 seconds in the rain, he said quietly. I want to hold her. Amara closed her eyes. Why now? Because I'm a coward, he admitted. And it took seeing you suffer to realize I'd rather die than let you keep suffering alone. You can't just... I know. His voice cracked. I know I don't deserve this, but she does. She deserves a father who shows up. You don't know how to show up. Then teach me. Amara's heart twisted. You're asking me to teach you how to be human? If that's what it takes. She laughed, bitter, exhausted. You really think you can do this? Balance your empire and a baby? I don't know, Jiwan said honestly. But I'm going to try. Amara was quiet for a long time. Then, tomorrow, noon, the park on 5th. I'll be there. And Jiwan? Yeah? If you're late, don't bother showing up ever again. The line went dead. Jiwan stared at his phone. Then he smiled. It was small, fragile. The kind of smile he hadn't worn in years. But it was real. The next day, Jiwan arrived at the park at 11:30 a.m. He'd been up all night. Not because of work, but because he didn't know what to wear to meet his daughter. Suit? Too formal. Casual? He didn't own casual. He settled on black jeans and a sweater. His bodyguards hated it. He looked almost normal. Almost. Amara arrived at noon exactly, pushing a second-hand stroller. Hana was awake, staring at the trees with wide, curious eyes. Jiwan stood when he saw them. Amara stopped a few feet away. You're early. I couldn't risk being late. She studied him. He looked different. Less cold. More. Scared. Sit, she said. He did. She sat beside him, lifting Hana out of the stroller. The baby squirmed, babbling softly. Jiwan's hands trembled. You can hold her, Amara said quietly. He hesitated. I don't know how. Support her head. Don't drop her. That's it. Slowly, carefully, Jiwan reached out. Amara placed Hana in his arms, and the world stopped. She was so small, so warm, so impossibly fragile. Her tiny hand curled around his finger. And Kang Jiwan, heir to a criminal empire, a man who'd killed without hesitation, a man who'd buried his heart under ice, shattered completely. She's perfect, he whispered. Amara's throat tightened. Yeah, she is. Hana stared up at him, eyes wide and dark. She has your eyes, Amara said softly. Jiwan couldn't speak. Because if he did, he'd break. He'd spent a year convincing himself he'd made the right choice. But holding his daughter, he realized he'd made the worst mistake of his life. I'm sorry, he whispered again. I know. I don't know if I can be what she needs. Then figure it out. He looked at Amara. What if I fail? You already did, she said bluntly. The question is, are you going to fail again? Jiwan's jaw tightened. Then he looked back down at Hana, at the tiny, perfect life he'd helped create. No, he said. I'm not. Amara didn't smile, but she didn't pull Hana away either, and for now, that was enough. The call started 3 days later. Jiwan's father, his underboss, his enemies, everyone wanted to know the same thing. Why is the heir spending time with a street vendor? Jiwan ignored them. He showed up every day, noon, the park, sometimes just to sit, sometimes to hold Hana while Amara rested. He didn't push, didn't demand, just existed beside them, like he was learning how to be human again. But the underworld doesn't forgive humanity. On the 5th day, his father summoned him. Jiwan walked into the Kang estate, a fortress of marble and cold elegance, and found his father waiting in the study. Kang Dae-hyun, 63, silver-haired, eyes like frost. You've been distracted, Dae-hyun said. I've been present. With a woman you abandoned. His father's voice was sharp. And a bastard child. Jiwan's fists clenched. Don't call her that. That's what she is. She's my daughter. Dae-hyun laughed, cold, dismissive. You think fatherhood makes you noble? It makes you weak. Then I'm weak. His father's smile vanished. You chose this family, this empire. You don't get to walk away now. I'm not walking away. Then what are you doing? Jiwan met his father's gaze. I'm fixing my mistake. By playing house with a girl who means nothing, she means everything. The words came out before he could stop them. Dae-hyun's expression darkened. You're soft. Just like your brother. Jiwan froze. His brother, Minho, The one who'd tried to leave the family, tried to choose love over power. They found him 3 months later, bullet in his head. The message was clear. You don't leave the Kang clan, not alive. I'm not Minho, Jiwon said quietly. No, his father agreed. You're smarter. Which is why you'll end this foolishness before I do. It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. Jiwon left the estate with his heart in his throat. He drove straight to Amara's apartment. She answered the door, Hana on her hip. You're early. We need to leave. What? You and Hana. You need to disappear. Amara's eyes narrowed. What did you do? It's not what I did. It's what they'll do if you stay. Who's they? My family. She stared at him. You told them about us? I didn't have to. They found out. And now what? They want us gone? They want you dead. The words hung in the air like smoke. Amara's grip on Hana tightened. You brought this to my door. I know. You swore you wouldn't hurt her. I'm trying not to. Then leave! Amara's voice broke. Just go, Jiwon. Disappear. Pretend we don't exist. You're good at that. I can't. Why not? Because I love you. The confession exploded out of him. Raw, desperate, true. Amara froze. I never stopped, Jiwon continued, voice shaking. I walked away because I thought it would save you, but all I did was destroy you, and I won't let them finish what I started. Tears burned her eyes. You don't get to love me now, not after everything. I know. You don't get to come back and play hero. I'm not a hero, Amara. I'm a monster, but I'm your monster. And I will burn my entire world down before I let them touch you or Hana. She shook her head. You can't protect us from your own family. Watch me. You'll die. Then I die. And what about her? Amara's voice cracked as she looked down at Hana. What happens to her when you're gone? Jiwon stepped closer. She'll have you. And you'll tell her that her father loved her enough to fight, even if he lost. Amara's tears finally fell. I hate you. I know. I hate that I still feel anything for you. I know. I hate that you're making me hope again. Jiwon reached out, cupping her face gently. Then hate me, but let me keep you safe while you do. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in a year, she let herself fall. Not into his arms, but into the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, he'd actually stay this time. Okay, she whispered. Okay? But if you die, Jiwon. Her voice was steel wrapped in heartbreak. I'll bring you back just to kill you myself. He smiled. Soft. Sad. Real. Deal. That night, Jiwon made 3 calls. First, his most trusted man. Get them out of the city. Tonight. Second, his accountant. Transfer everything. Offshore. Untraceable. Third, his father. I'm out. Silence. Then, you know what that means. I do. You'll have nothing. I'll have everything. The line went dead. Jiwon sat in his penthouse, staring at the city he'd ruled. He'd built an empire on fear. But tonight, he'd traded all for a flower vendor and a baby who didn't even know his name yet. And somehow, that felt like the first real choice he'd ever made. The safe house sat 40 miles outside the city, buried in woods so thick even sunlight hesitated to enter. It was one of Jiwon's oldest secrets, a place he'd bought years ago, back when he still believed he might need somewhere to run. He never thought he'd use it to save the people he loved. Amara stood in the living room, Hana sleeping against her chest, and looked around. Stone fireplace, reinforced windows, enough supplies to last months. This is where you hide when your empire crumbles? She asked. Jiwon closed the door behind them, locking it with 3 separate deadbolts. This is where I hide the things that matter. We're things now? You're everything now. She wanted to argue, wanted to throw his words back at him, but exhaustion pulled at her bones, and Hana was finally sleeping deeply for the first time in days. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, Jiwon said quietly. Take whichever you want. I'll stay down here. You're not sleeping? Can't. Not until I know you're safe. Amara studied him, dark circles under his eyes, tension in his jaw. He looked like a man holding the world together with nothing but willpower and regret. When was the last time you slept? She asked. When was the last time you did? He countered. Fair point. She sighed. I'm going to put her down. Then we need to talk. About everything. 20 minutes later, Hana was tucked into a crib Jiwon had somehow acquired in the 6 hours between his father's threat and their arrival at the safe house. Amara didn't ask how. She was learning that Jiwon's world operated on a logic she'd never understand. She found him in the kitchen, staring at his phone. The screen was dark. "They're looking for you," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "How long before they find us?" 3 days, maybe 4. "That's it?" He looked at her. "I bought us time, not forever." "Then what's the plan, Jiwon? We hide here until they get bored? Until they decide we're not worth the trouble?" "They won't get bored." "Then what?" He set the phone down. "I end it." "And what?" "The family. The empire. All of it." Amara laughed, sharp, disbelieving. "You're going to take down the entire Kang clan by yourself?" "If that's what it takes. That's suicide." "Probably." "Then why?" "Because I won't let them hurt you." His voice cracked, raw and desperate. "I won't let them take Hana. I won't let them turn her into what I am. I'd rather die fighting than live knowing I failed you again." Silence filled the space between them. Amara crossed her arms, trying to hold herself together. "You can't save us by getting yourself killed." "Then tell me what to do," Jiwon said. "Tell me how to fix this. Because I don't know. I've spent my entire life knowing exactly what to do, and now I don't know anything except that I can't lose you. Either of you." She saw it then. The cracks. The fear. The boy underneath the crime lord. "You want to know what to do?" Amara said quietly. "Stop trying to fight alone. I don't have anyone." "You have me." He froze. "I'm not helpless, Jiwon. I survived a year without you. I kept Hana alive when I had nothing. So stop treating me like something fragile you need to lock away. I'm trying to protect you. I know. But I don't need a martyr. I need a partner." Jiwon stared at her. "You'd fight beside me? After everything?" "I don't know yet," she admitted. "But I know I'm tired of running. And I know Hana deserves better than a father who dies before she knows his name." He stepped closer. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we do this together. We find a way out that doesn't end with you in a coffin. There might not be one. Then we make one." For the first time in days, Jiwon felt something other than fear. Hope. It was dangerous, fragile, but it was there. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay. We do this together." Amara nodded. "But first, you need to tell me everything. No more secrets. No more half-truths. If we're doing this, I need to know exactly what we're up against." Jiwon exhaled slowly. "It's not a pretty story." "I didn't ask for pretty. I asked for truth." So he told her about the Kang clan, about the territories they controlled, trafficking routes, smuggling operations, money laundering empires spanning 3 continents, about his father, Dae-hyun, who'd built the family's power on blood and fear, about his brother, Minho, who'd tried to leave and ended up in a shallow grave, about the night Jiwon realized he wasn't just part of the empire, he was the empire's future. "I was 17, Jiwon said, voice distant. "My father brought me to a warehouse. There was a man tied to a chair. He'd stolen from us. Just 20,000. Nothing, really. But my father said it wasn't about the money. It was about the message." Amara's stomach turned. "What did he make you do?" "He put a gun in my hand. Told me to pull the trigger." "Did you?" Jiwon's jaw tightened. "Yes." The word hung between them like a gravestone. "I told myself it was survival," he continued. "That if I didn't, my father would see me as weak. That the empire would eat me alive. But the truth is simpler than that." "What's the truth?" "I wanted his approval." Jiwon's voice broke. "I was 17 and terrified, and I just wanted my father to look at me like I mattered. So I killed a man, and I kept killing. And somewhere along the way, I forgot how to be anything else." Amara was quiet for a long time. Then, "Do you regret it?" "Every day." "Why didn't you leave?" "Because I didn't think I deserved to." He looked at her. "Until you." "Me?" "You made me feel like maybe I could be something other than a monster. Like maybe I could choose differently. That's why I stayed away. Because I knew if I stayed close, I'd destroy you. Just like I destroy everything I touch. And now I'm done running from what I am. I can't change the past, can't undo the blood on my hands. but I can choose what happens next. Amara reached out, hesitating, then took his hand. It was the first time she'd touched him voluntarily since the night at the red light. "You're not a monster, Ji-won," she said quietly. "Monsters don't feel regret. They don't sacrifice empires for people they love. They don't sit in parks holding babies they're terrified of dropping. Then what am I? Human, broken maybe, but human." Something inside him cracked open. He pulled her close, not forcefully, but desperately, and buried his face in her shoulder. And for the first time in a decade, Kang Ji-won cried. Not silent tears, but deep, shaking sobs. Amara held him, not because she'd forgiven him, not because everything was okay, but because she understood now. He wasn't her enemy. He was just a man who'd been told his whole life that love was weakness. And now he was trying to unlearn it, even if it killed him. 2 days passed. Ji-won made calls. Quiet, careful. Reaching out to people who owed him favors, people who hated his father more than they feared him. He learned 3 things. 1. Daehyun had put a bounty on Amara's head, not large, but enough. 2. The Italian mafia, old rivals of the Kangs, were willing to help. For a price. 3. His father's empire was fracturing. Underbosses questioning orders, soldiers whispering about succession. The Kang clan was weaker than it looked. And weakness could be exploited. "I have a plan," Ji-won said on the 3rd morning. Amara was feeding Hana mashed bananas. The baby's face was covered in orange mush. It was the most normal thing Ji-won had ever seen. "I'm listening," Amara said. "We don't run. We don't hide. We go back. Back to the city? Back to the estate." Amara stared at him. "Are you insane?" "Probably, but think about it. My father expects me to run, expects me to disappear. He's hunting the shadows, he's not watching his own house. So we walk into the lion's den? We walk in with proof. Proof of what? That he's losing control, that half his men would turn on him for the right price. That his empire is built on fear, and fear breaks." Amara set the spoon down. "You want to stage a coup. I want to give him a choice. Let us go, or watch everything he built burn. He'll kill you. Maybe, but he might not. Because if he does, the Italians move in. The Russians move in. Everyone he's kept at bay for 30 years will smell blood and take what's his. And if he chooses to kill us all anyway?" Ji-won met her eyes. "Then I die making sure you and Hana get out first." Amara's heart twisted. "I hate your plan." "You have a better one?" She didn't. "We go together," she said finally. "No more noble sacrifices. No more you dying while I escape nonsense. Together, or not at all." Ji-won wanted to argue, wanted to tell her it was too dangerous, but he'd promised. No more fighting alone. Together, he agreed. They left the safe house that night. Hana stayed behind with Ji-won's most trusted man, Kwon, a 50-year-old ex-soldier who'd saved Ji-won's life twice and owed him 3 times over. "If we don't come back," Ji-won started. "You'll come back," Kwon said simply. "But if we don't, I'll raise her like my own." Ji-won's throat tightened. "Thank you." Kwon nodded. "Go get your life back, kid." Amara kissed Hana's forehead, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep. Then they drove into the night, back toward the city, back toward the empire that wanted them dead, back toward the only ending that mattered, freedom, or fire. The Kang estate loomed against the night sky like a cathedral built for ghosts, all marble columns and iron gates and security cameras that watched everything. Ji-won had grown up here, learned to fight here, learned to kill here. Now he was walking back in, not as the heir, but as the threat. "Last chance to turn around," he said. Amara checked the wire hidden under her jacket, a recording device Ji-won had insisted she wear. "I'm not turning around. If this goes wrong, it won't. You don't know that. Neither do you." She looked at him. "So we move forward, together." He wanted to kiss her. Wanted to pull her close and tell her that no matter what happened tonight, loving her had been the only good choice he'd ever made. But there wasn't time. The gates opened. They'd been expecting him. Of course they had. 2 guards flanked them as they walked through the entrance, silent, armed. Professionals who'd seen Jiwon grow up and now looked at him like he was already a corpse. The doors opened. Inside, the estate was exactly as Jiwon remembered. Cold, elegant, empty of anything resembling warmth. His father sat in the study, whiskey in hand, looking like a king who just won a war. "You came back," Daehyun said. "I'm impressed." "I came to talk." "Talk?" His father laughed. "You bring your whore into my house and expect conversation?" Jiwon's fists clenched. "Call her that again and I'll—" "You'll what?" Daehyun stood, eyes cold. "You're in my house, surrounded by my men. You have no leverage here, boy." "Actually," Jiwon said calmly, "I do." He pulled out a flash drive. Daehyun's expression didn't change. "What's that?" "Insurance. Every dirty deal you've made in the last decade, every murder you ordered, every politician you bought. It's all here. And if anything happens to me, Amara, or my daughter, it gets released." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Silence. Daehyun studied him. "You'd burn your own family?" "You burned it first," Jiwon said quietly. "The second you put a bounty on their heads." "They're not family. She's a nobody. The child's a bastard. They're nothing." "To you, maybe. To me?" Jiwon stepped closer. "They're everything." Daehyun's jaw tightened. "You've gone soft." "No, I've gone sane." Jiwon's voice was steel. "I spent my whole life thinking power mattered. That fear mattered. That the Empire was worth dying for. But it's not. It's just a cage. And I'm done living in it. Then you'll die outside it. Maybe. But at least I'll die free." Daehyun moved fast. Faster than Jiwon expected. The gun was out before Jiwon could react. Pointed at Amara. "Drop the drive," Daehyun said, "or I kill her." Jiwon froze. Everything stopped. The drive in his hand felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "You won't," Jiwon said. "You kill her, the drive gets released anyway. I set up a dead man switch." "You're lying." "Try me." Daehyun's finger hovered over the trigger. Amara didn't move. Didn't breathe. But her eyes, locked on Jiwon, were steady. Trusting. She believed he'd find a way. And God, he hoped she was right. "You have 10 seconds, Daehyun said. "Drop it or she dies. 10, 9, 8, wait." The voice came from the doorway. Everyone turned. A man stepped into the room. Late 50s. Silver-streaked hair. Eyes like broken glass. Kang Min-jae. Jiwon's uncle. Daehyun's younger brother. "Min-jae," Daehyun said slowly. "What are you doing here?" "Stopping you from making the same mistake you made with Minho." Daehyun's expression darkened. "Careful." "Or what? You'll kill me too?" Min-jae stepped closer. "You killed your own son because he wanted out. And now you're going to kill your remaining heir because he wants the same thing?" Jiwon made his choice. "No, you made it for him. Just like you made it for Minho. Just like you've made every choice for this family for 30 years. Min-jae's voice was calm. Cold. "But I'm done following you." Daehyun turned the gun toward him. "You'd betray me?" "I'm saving you from yourself." "By siding with a traitor?" "By siding with family." The room held its breath. Then Min-jae looked at Jiwon. "Show me the drive." Jiwon hesitated. "Why would I—" "Because I'm offering you a deal." Min-jae's gaze was sharp. "You give me the drive, you walk away. And in exchange, I take over the family." "No," Daehyun snarled. "This is my empire." "An empire that's crumbling," Min-jae interrupted. "Half your men are already planning to jump ship. The Italians are circling. The feds are asking questions. You're not invincible anymore, brother. You're desperate." Daehyun's hand shook. "I'll kill you all." "You could," Min-jae agreed. "But then what? The empire collapses. Everything you built dies with you. Or—" He paused. "You step aside. Let me clean up the mess. Let Jiwon go. And maybe, just maybe, the Kang name survives another generation." Silence stretched like a knife's edge. Jiwon could see it in his father's eyes. The calculation. The rage. The realization that he'd been outmaneuvered. Finally, Daehyun lowered the gun. "You walk out that door," he said to Jiwon. "You're dead to me." "I've been dead to you since I was born," Jiwon replied. "I just didn't realize it until now." Daehyun's face twisted. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret, Jiwon said, is not leaving sooner. He handed the drive to Minjae. Minjae nodded. Go, before he changes his mind. Jiwon took Amara's hand. They walked toward the door. Daehyun's voice stopped them. You think you're free? You think you can just walk away and play happy family? Jiwon turned. Yes. You'll fail. You're too broken, too stained. That girl will realize what you are, and she'll leave. Just like everyone else. Jiwon met his father's eyes. Maybe. But at least I'll fail as myself. Not as your puppet. He walked out. Amara beside him. The gates closed behind them. And for the first time in his life, Kang Jiwon breathed free air. They didn't speak until they reached the car. Amara's hands were shaking. That was insane. Yeah. Your uncle just, staged a coup? Apparently? And your father just let us go? He didn't have a choice. Amara laughed, high, breathless, almost hysterical. We're alive. We're alive, Jiwon echoed. She turned to him. What now? Now. He started the engine. Now we go get our daughter. They drove through the night. Silent. Exhausted. Alive. When they reached the safe house, Kwon was waiting with Hana in his arms. The baby was asleep, peaceful, unaware that her entire world had almost ended. Jiwon took her gently. She stirred, blinking up at him with sleepy eyes. And he smiled. Not the cold smile of a crime lord, but the soft, aching smile of a father. We're free, he whispered to her. You're free. Amara watched them. Father and daughter, monster and miracle. What happens now? She asked quietly. Jiwon looked at her. That's up to you. Me? I'm out of the family. I have no empire, no power. Just money I stashed away and a very uncertain future. He swallowed hard. But if you'll let me, I want to build something new, something small, something real. With us? With you. Amara's eyes burned. You hurt me, Jiwon. I know. You destroyed me. I know. And I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive you. I don't expect you to. She stepped closer. But I want to try. His breath caught. Try? To build something real. To see if we can be more than what we were. To give Hana a family that isn't built on blood and fear. Jiwon's voice cracked. Are you sure? No, she admitted. But I'm willing to find out. He closed the space between them. Rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. Good, she said. Because I'm not going anywhere. And there, in a safe house in the middle of nowhere, with their daughter asleep between them and the empire behind them, they kissed. Soft, slow, full of all the pain and hope and second chances they'd both stopped believing in. When they finally pulled apart, Amara smiled. So, where do we go now? Jiwon looked down at Hana, then back at Amara. Anywhere we want. 6 months later. The coast of Oregon was nothing like the city. No neon lights, no black SUVs, no shadows hiding knives. Just ocean, trees, and a small house perched on a cliff where the waves sang louder than gunfire ever had. Jiwon stood on the porch, watching the sunset paint the water gold. Hana was on his hip, babbling nonsense while she grabbed at his hair. She's going to rip it out, Amara said from the doorway. Let her, I don't need it. Amara smiled and joined them, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. You say that now. Wait until you're bald at 30. Still worth it. Hana shrieked with laughter as she successfully yanked a strand loose. Jiwon winced. Okay, maybe not worth it. Amara laughed. Full, genuine, the kind of laugh he'd been chasing since the day he met her. They'd moved here 3 months ago, far from the Kang Empire, far from the underworld, far from everything Jiwon had been. He'd taken a new name, started over, got a job at the docks, hard, honest work that left his hands rough and his body tired. He loved it. Because it was his. Amara had started selling her flowers again. Not on street corners, but at the local farmer's market. People loved her arrangements, loved her smile, loved the way she talked about each bloom like it had a story. She was thriving. And so was Hana. At 11 months old, she was starting to walk, starting to say words. Dada came first. Jiwon cried when he heard it. Mama came second. Amara cried too. They were building something, slow, fragile, real. But peace doesn't erase the past. It just learns to live beside it. Late one night, Jiwon woke to find Amara standing by the window, staring at the ocean. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She didn't turn. "Do you ever regret it?" "Regret what?" "Leaving. Giving up everything." Jiwon got out of bed and joined her. Not for a second. Even when it's hard? Especially then. She finally looked at him. "I worry sometimes that you'll wake up one day and realize you miss it, the power, the control." "I don't miss it, Amara. I miss who I thought I had to be to survive. But I don't miss the cage. What if your family comes looking?" It was the question neither of them wanted to ask. "Minjae's kept his word," Jiwon said. "He's running things clean. Well, cleaner. And he made it clear to everyone, I'm out, untouchable, as long as I stay gone. And your father?" Jiwon's jaw tightened. "Last I heard, he stepped down. Lives in isolation somewhere in Korea. Minjae said he's a ghost now. Do you think about him?" "Sometimes. Not as much as I used to." "Do you hate him?" Jiwon was quiet for a long time. "No, I pity him. He built an empire and lost everything that mattered. His sons, his brother, himself. He's the richest, loneliest man alive. And you? I'm the poorest, happiest man alive." Amara smiled. "You're not poor. You have money hidden in 3 different countries." "Fine. Second poorest." She laughed and leaned against him. "I'm proud of you. You know that, right? For what? For choosing, for walking away, for being here." Jiwon wrapped his arms around her. "I'm just sorry it took so long. Better late than never." They stood there, watching the waves, holding each other like the world might still try to tear them apart. But it didn't. Not that night. 2 months later, Hana took her first real steps. Jiwon was at work when it happened, so Amara recorded it on her phone. Hana wobbling across the living room, arms out for balance, determination on her tiny face. When Jiwon came home and watched the video, he cried. Again. "You're such a softie now," Amara teased. "I'm a father," he corrected. "It's allowed." That night, they celebrated with cake and candles. Hana smashed frosting everywhere. Jiwon didn't care. He just sat there, covered in chocolate, holding his daughter, thinking about how a year ago he'd been standing at a red light convinced he'd lost everything. And now he had everything. But the past never stays buried. One morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Just Jiwon's new name, the one only a handful of people knew. He opened it carefully. Inside was a single photograph. Jiwon, Amara, Hana, walking on the beach. And a note. "You're not as hidden as you think. But don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you. Just to remind you, family is forever. Even when you run from it." Jiwon's blood ran cold. Minjae, his uncle. The man who'd saved his life. The man who now controlled the empire. Amara found him standing in the kitchen, staring at the photo. "What is it?" she asked. He showed her. Her face went pale. "He knows where we are." "Yeah. What does he want?" "I don't know." "Jiwon, I'll handle it." "How?" "I'll call him." "And say what?" "Whatever I have to." Jiwon made the call that night. Minjae answered on the first ring. "Hello, nephew." "What do you want?" "Relax. I'm not your enemy." "Then why send the photo?" "Because you need to remember something." Minjae's voice was calm, measured. "You're out. I gave you that. But you're still a Kang. And the world doesn't forget. I'm not coming back. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to be smart. Keep your head down. Don't make waves. And most importantly, don't trust anyone completely. Why are you telling me this? Because enemies don't disappear just because you do. Your father's gone, but his old allies aren't. Some of them would love to hurt me by hurting you. Then let them come. You'd risk your family for pride? Jiwon's fists clenched. No. Good. Then listen. Stay where you are. Keep quiet. And if anyone comes asking questions, anyone, you call me. Understood? Why are you protecting me? Because you're family. And despite what my brother taught us, family means something. The line went dead. Jiwon stood there, phone in hand, heart pounding. Amara appeared in the doorway. What did he say? He said we're safe, as long as we stay invisible. And if we don't, then we're not. She crossed her arms. So what do we do? We live, Jiwon said firmly. We stay here. We raise Hana. We build the life we want, and we don't let fear control us. But we're careful, we're smart, and we don't forget where we came from. Amara nodded slowly. Okay. We live together? Jiwon pulled her close. Together. Time moved differently on the coast. Slower. Softer. Hana learned to run, to laugh, to say I love you, in a tiny voice that destroyed Jiwon every single time. Amara's flower business grew. She hired help, started delivering arrangements for weddings and events. Jiwon got promoted at the docks, became a foreman, earned respect not through fear but through hard work. They weren't rich, but they were happy. Some nights, Jiwon still had nightmares. He'd wake up gasping, covered in sweat, convinced he was back in the Empire. But Amara was always there, holding him, reminding him, you're here, you're safe, you're loved. And slowly, so slowly, the nightmares faded. On Hana's second birthday, they threw a small party. Just neighbors. Friends from the market. People who knew them as James and Mary, the quiet couple with the beautiful daughter. No one knew who they really were, and that was fine. Hana blew out her candles, making a wish she couldn't articulate yet, but felt deep in her tiny heart. Jiwon watched her, overwhelmed. 2 years ago, he'd been a crime lord, a killer. A man who thought love was weakness. Now he was just a dad. And it was the best thing he'd ever been. Later that night, after everyone left and Hana was asleep, Jiwon and Amara sat on the porch. The ocean stretched endless before them. Do you ever wonder what would have happened? Amara asked. If you hadn't seen me that day? Every day. What do you think? Jiwon took her hand. I think I'd still be in that car, still chasing power, still empty. And now? Now I'm full. She smiled. Sappy. True. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I love you, you know. I know. Even when you're annoying. Especially then. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Amara said, do you think we'll ever really be free? Or will the past always be there waiting? Jiwon thought about it. I think the past is always there, but it doesn't get to decide our future. We do. And what future do you want? He looked at her. This one. Exactly this one. Even with the danger? Even with the danger. Even with the uncertainty? Even with the uncertainty. She kissed him. Soft, certain. Then let's build it. Together? Together. Epilogue 5 years later, Hana started school. She had Jiwon's eyes and Amara's smile and a laugh that could light up rooms. She loved flowers, loved the ocean, loved stories about brave princesses who didn't need saving. She didn't know about her father's past. Not yet. Maybe one day when she was older they'd tell her. But for now she was just a little girl who loved her parents and believed the world was good. And Jiwon would do everything in his power to keep her believing that. Because he'd spent his whole life in darkness. But Hana was his light. And he'd burn the world down before he let that light go out. The end. He was a crime lord who lost everything. She was the woman he abandoned.